Oh, recording. I see it started. Good evening,
So,
everybody. This is Pat Moore, Chair of Quality of Life. Mariama James is on. She's the co-chair.
Hello.
And Lucian Reynolds is our district manager. It's going to be running behind the scenes, all of the muting, unmuting, setting up screens for us to see, like Mariama's resume. So welcome, everyone. And everyone from DDC, and is Con Ed here, and I don't know who else, but welcome. Let's start with you. Speak first. On the
I'm going to
projects in
start
our
unmuting
community.
people, Pat. Give me a
Okay.
second. I'm just going to pick this list. Um, hi, Marlene. I'm going to start pulling people over. I'm just going to pull over everybody I know that's in DDC. That'll let you kind of run your show on your end, Marlene.
I assume we'll start with Worth Street.
Yes, good morning. Well, good evening, everyone. We'll
I'm
certainly
sorry.
start.
I
Can
didn't
you
see
hear
who
me?
was it. Yes.
This is Marlene Nunez. I'm the Borough Outreach Coordinator for DDC. We do have several representatives from construction management. I do believe we have Frankie Lau. If you don't mind, if we can start with him, is that okay?
Sure. Any order you want to do it. It's your show.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Go ahead, Frankie. Thank you.
So I
Hey,
have
Frankie.
the reconstruction of. How are you, Pat?
Okay, how you doing?
Frankie, can you speak a little louder? It's hard to hear you.
Okay. So I have the reconstruction of Front Street downtown. So right now we're still on Front. We finished the old slip section and we're moving north past a little bit past the Gouverneur intersection. We're still working on utility layouts. Again, we're finding shallow utilities across the board.
I'm sorry. Hard to hear.
Is it better now?
No, talk a little. Let's see.
Because you're talking about Front Street, you said? FRONT?
Front Street, yes. Yes, Front Street.
I heard you're in the
Hello?
Gouverneur intersection.
Yes. So right now we're at the Gouverneur intersection. We're still working on a lot of utility interference that we've uncovered so far. So that's where we are now. We're still working. The plan is to work south to north with the utility work, and then we'll come back and we'll do the Charlie track work, and then the catch basins, and then the roadway and the sidewalk.
Frank,
Yes.
I'm sorry, it's the Wall Street, Front Street intersection. I think you said Gouverneur.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay, it's Wall Street.
Wall Street.
Wall
Okay.
Street.
Wall Street, Front Street intersection. This is Amelia, the CCL for Front Street.
Great. We got it. Wall Street, Front Street intersection.
Yep. So right now, I think we're still on schedule. The project completion date is still June of 2022. We're so far out that I really don't know if right now we're still sticking to that completion date.
And when is the work stopping for the winter season?
They applied for the holiday embargo and was granted the embargo, so they're planning on working through the holiday season.
Okay.
No, we
Yeah,
haven't.
so there's no. Yes, we've been granted the embargo from City DOT, and they plan on working through the holiday season.
So as long as the weather is not too bad, you might meet your completion in 2022.
Correct.
Right.
Hopefully.
Good. If not, you'll let us know next time you come.
Always do.
Thank you.
Anything else? Anything else, Amelia? You have anything to add?
Nothing on my end other than the same thing you said. We're doing the utility work running along Front Street.
Okay.
And so that's replacing utilities? Or putting in new, or?
No, there's new utilities. Con Edison have some layouts to upgrade some of their facilities. On top of that, we found some shallow stuff that we're lowering so to get them out of the roadway and not interfere with the roadway. So it's a little bit of both. And also,
Okay.
we are upgrading the facilities that are there now.
Right. Also, next when they're, if they're lower, you won't have to.
Correct.
They won't interfere with work. Yeah. Great.
Yes.
I'm just gonna grab my headphones because I'm having trouble hearing. Keep going.
That's all I have.
Great.
Thank you, Frankie. We also have Gerald Estrella and Sonia Quinones from the Best Street project, so I'll let them go next with their update.
Can you guys hear me? This is Gerald.
You can hear you, Gerald.
I can hear better.
Gerald.
All right. Yeah, let me know if you guys can't hear me or anything. So I'm the RE for the Vestry Street reconstruction. As of now, we have the granite curb and sidewalk on Vestry Street, both north side and south side completed. Right now, we're currently installing the street lights for the Hudson and Vestry Street intersection. We also have the ped ramp on the northwest corner of that Hudson and Vestry Street intersection completed.
I'm sorry, what was the intersection?
Hudson and Vestry Street.
Hudson Industry.
Yeah, so we have, as of right now, we have one corner completed with the granite and sidewalk and the ped ramp. Right now, we're currently working on the southwest corner. And so we have like 3 corners left to install. We completed all the sewer work for this project, which is catch basin and clean out manholes. That's been completed. So the remaining of the work is the concrete road base placement and the cobblestone. So that is granted to take place in March. We were going to try to do it earlier, but we wanted to be safe side because since the curb reveal for both on Vestry Street is going to be 7 inches, and then the cobblestone is going to be 5 inches with the mortar setting bed, that's going to be a foot. So because of the winter season, we wanted to make sure that we were able to install the cobblestone. So for safety, because that would leave a 13-inch gap, and that would be unsafe. So we're looking to do that in March, which is the concrete road base followed by the cobblestone installation.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
Also, our project end date is scheduled for June 10th, 2021. So we're still anticipating that. The cobblestone work shouldn't take that long. We excavated all the trolley track removal. We removed any possible utility interference as of now when we dug the trolley track removal. So just the concrete road base and the cobblestone should go smoothly. We're assuming, and then as of right now, during this time between when we start that work, we're completing all the other work that needs to be done, which is just ped ramp work and some of the sidewalks on the intersection of Hudson and Vestry Street.
Okay. Is that the end of the report?
Yes.
Let me just ask, Mark, are you
Yeah.
there? Is Mark there?
May take him a second to unmute himself.
Mark, unmute yourself. In the meantime, does anyone else have any questions? I know Mark is our knower of all things cobblestone. Is he still there? Maybe he's all right.
Still there. I know which one's him, but
Mark, can you hear me? All right, we'll come back. If he can unmute
Okay.
us.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I just wanted to ask, I'm a wheelchair user. What is being done at the crosswalks? Because I can't use cobblestone at all. So I was wondering, what is the treatment that's being done at the crosswalks?
Also, for the crosswalks, it's not going to be cobblestone. It's going to be a let's see here, I have the plan. It's going to be like a granite block pavement. DDC did it at another project. I'm not quite sure. I could send that to you later, but it's going to be like a smoother surface. It's going to be like kind of like granite, but it's not going to be cobblestone. So at those crosswalks, both crosswalks that we're doing, which is going to be on the west end of the Hudson and Vestry Street intersection, and also the east end, they're going to be like a smoother surface, like it's going to be granite blocks, and it's not going to be cobblestone.
Right,
Gerald,
and
sorry.
the other question that we always get is for bike riders, because they can't ride on cobblestone, so they ride on the sidewalk. And
Yeah,
then
the
pedestrians
same
complain.
thing. We're gonna have a 3-foot proposed bike lane on this cobblestone. So it's gonna be, from our drawing, it's gonna be on the north side. So it's gonna be on the north side. It's a 3-foot lane of a 3-foot proposed granite block. It's gonna be smooth, that goes along Vestry Street.
Perfect, thank you.
Gerald, could you send us at some point maybe a slide that shows us and lets us know that the crosswalks are ADA compliant, please?
Okay, yeah, I can send it. I'll send it to Lucian. I'll have
Yeah.
I mean, our field office will send it to Lucian.
Pat, I have a
Great.
question as well.
Yeah, go.
So a number of the cobblestone streets in our district were rebuilt by DEC a number of years ago. I venture to guess, I would say over 8 years ago. And some of them are not in a state of good repair. I guess it'd be the most charitable way of putting it. One of the issues that were identified was that the amount of time that goes by for which the city is able to go after the contractor to redo the work, or to get the money back or do something, had expired before someone raised the alarm that these streets are in poor repair. Since we've been talking about it, it sounds like the spec has been improved somewhat since those projects. Could you give us a sense, just so we can be more vigilant at the completion of this project, of how long the city has to either claw back payments or to force contractors to redo their work? Should the cobblestone, like the fill between the cobblestones start to erode and the cobblestones start to move, or the substrate beneath the road to go bad, or how? I know this is not technical, but you've seen some of the other cobblestone streets in the district. If it starts looking like that, what recourses do we have, and what time period do we have to do those?
So typically the insurance, maybe another DEC can answer this, but typically insurance is 1 year after the project completion date.
Oh.
And it's a year and a half for trees. So I don't know if they
No, I think
revised
it
that
was
to make it
longer.
longer.
Mhm.
But I could always check if another DDC personnel, I think they might know more about that when they talk about their project. Maybe they can answer the question about like typical the insurance after when the project contractor could come back and fix those. What's the time limit they can? But I believe it's a year.
Okay.
I think the problem arose after a year.
I have a question about that.
There's Mark. Yeah, we
Yeah.
wanted you, Mark. Where were
that's
you?
right. It was after a year, but not well after a year, where the cobblestone started deteriorating with the horrible job that this contractor did. Does the city has the ability to sue to recover money to repair and refurbish the cobblestones? As you know, just for the record again, we don't want these things to be taken away and then paved over. We want the cobblestones repaired. That was the whole purpose of this. And it's not only Greenwich Street, it's some of the other streets that are maybe a little bit less traveled. You're starting to notice cracks in them as well. And interestingly, Vestry Street's cobblestones are like, 100 years old, and they're actually quite in not that bad a shape considering the age. So what about the ability for the city to sue the contractor to get recoup money to effect repairs and hire a more reputable company to actually do the repair or what needs to be done?
In terms of like the city's ability to sue, I'm not sure about that. I have to get back to you on that. That's more of a legal thing, and I'm more of the technical side. I have to look into that more, and I could always
We can
once I have
look
the
into
information.
that, yeah, and
Yeah,
get back
I could
to you
send
with
it
that.
to Lucian. Yeah.
Okay.
We
Can I
want
follow
to
up
work.
on that? Well, from a technical perspective, what, particularly Greenwich Street, I assume you've observed what Greenwich Street looks like between Canal and Hubert?
No, I haven't gone to that. Is it Greenwich Street?
Yeah, it's a cobblestone street, which is in really bad disrepair. I mean, they recently fixed the intersection of Late and Greenwich with those like different types of cobblestones, not the Belgian blocks, which don't look as nice. But it looks like they did it right this time because they did it section by section and let the concrete cure properly, I think. Because it took them a while to finish, almost a couple of months to actually just do the one intersection. But what is the technical process, the actual process for repairing these cobblestones? Are they does everything have to obviously be dug up and redone, or are they going to do it like point by point locations? How would that be done?
So for this project, everything was dug up. So existing, because underneath Vestry Street was existing trolley tracks. So that was removed by the contractor. So we dug approximately, because there was also Con Ed underneath. So we dug approximately 4 feet from the top of the roadway all the way down to remove the trolley tracks. So now that's filled with, that's temporary paved right now. So there's backfill and then it's temporary paved. So we're going to dig back the necessary depth to install 9-inch concrete road base. Then we have to put in a 1-inch mortar setting bed, and then we put in the cobblestones, and that's the whole street. Well, curb to curb on Vestry, and also just west of Vestry. I mean, just west of Hudson.
Cobblestones, when they're put back in, the process is going to be correctly done this time, where they're allowed to sit and cure, and then you do half the street, and then you do the other half.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. So yeah, because then we also have to we're gonna let the concrete settle first, and then after that's done, then once we install the cobblestones, we'll also have to let that settle for quite a while. Might be, I believe it's 3 weeks before anything can go on. Yeah, because then that might cause it to. Yeah, it might cause it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Also
Gerald,
temperature. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we just ask for this because this is a good opportunity to allow the community board to observe the way that which DDC does its checks for this. We're trying our best to get all the other streets rebuilt because they're in such poor shape. But if you would just take, and I know that you will, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you to really take great painstaking care to really inspect the workmanship of these cobblestone streets when it comes time to do the punch list at the end of this project, because we don't want to get stuck with falling apart cobblestone streets here as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I also will be using existing cobblestone. It's not going to be all new. We're going to be inspecting the existing ones that are in good shape, and we're going to be reusing those. And if the ones that that are not in good shape, we're going to be installing new new cobblestones.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So moving on.
Thank you, Gerald. We do have Deshant. He's the engineer in charge for both the Worth Street project and Regards Plaza, so I'll let him continue.
Yes, good evening. This is Dushyant Rajput, the engineer in charge for Worth Street project and also for the Bogardas Plaza. Hi, so I'm going to update regarding the Worth Street first. The Worth Street project limit from Hudson to Park Row South. On October 23rd, last month, we finished the asphalt paving from Hudson Street to West Broadway, including the intersection. That's the first block. And we restored the two-way traffic over there. And also from the Broadway curb line on Worth Street, east side curb line, to all the way Park Row South. the asphalt paving, all the contract work is done, and the two-way traffic was restored in October 25th. So now the remaining work on the Wall Street is between the Broadway intersection to all the way to the West Broadway East curb line on the Wall Street. So 2 blocks and 2 intersections. And currently we are working at the Broadway intersection and some of the Con Ed issue. Con Edison is working on that. And we have almost all the work is complete except very small water main work for the 1 day is remaining and the restoration of the roadway. And whatever during the restoration, if the utility issue comes up, that we need to take care of. So after Broadway intersection, at the same time, we are working on the church intersection, where we have a water main. Right now, we're currently working on the gas main, and then will be the steam relocation, then trunk main, distribution water main, traffic signals, and roadway restoration. So now, currently, there are some coordination issues, and they are taken care of right now. So we are waiting for some of the roadway design for the Broadway intersection north of the Worth Street, and we have some issues on the Church Street also ongoing regarding the feeders. So at this time, I would say the project should be complete, anticipated to be complete by July 2021.
July 20th?
Yes, July 2021.
2021. And what was the issue on Church Street? You said you had some problems with feeders?
The feeders. There are like 4 feeders. Those are in the way of the installation of the gas main and to do the other city work. So Con Edison is working on that one. And there is some gas main portion that has been exposed that Con Edison has to decide whether they want to have the new gas main or just to backfill that portion. So there are currently 2 issues at Church Street.
And so DDC and Con Ed. Yes.
Yeah, Con Edison is aware of the issues and more update. I think John Marciello is on the phone also. Maybe he can update everybody.
Okay, great.
Can you hear me?
Hi, John.
Hey,
John.
how you doing?
Okay.
All right. Yeah, we always get along. It's not an issue with that. It's just, but it's
Well,
just a
remember
matter
last
of,
time it was like, did you have to work together?
Wow. Yeah, I know. It's more a matter of where can I fit my utilities and where you can fit the water main and everything.
Right.
So, but as far as Broadway, Dushan is correct. We have to come up with a design to basically we have shallow feeders over there, and we have to come up with a design to show how we're going to reinforce the roadway and modify it. So that DOT approves it, and it also in the same token it protects our feeders there. And then once that's resolved,
And just
then
explain
the
to us,
contractor
what are
can
the
proceed.
feeders for?
Yeah.
What do the feeders do, John?
Well, they're the ones that distribute their distribution mains that feed transformers, and then the transformers step down the power, and then it feeds the customers. So feeders basically send the they run the higher voltage, let's say. So they run it to the transformers, which the transformers step the power down, and then from there it feeds the customers. That's basically what they are. That's basically the gist of it.
That's a good explanation.
So in that I don't want to go too much into it. Anyway, so that's Broadway. But as far as Church is concerned, to kind of piggyback off what Dushan was saying, he referenced feeders in the intersection of Church. Now, we've, as far as interference, as he's mentioned, the feeders are pretty much, we move them to allow for the room to install the gas main that the contractor is working on. So right there is not an issue. It's just, I think what he was referencing was we have a structure on Church Street that we need to be broken out and modified. And he was referencing that. But again, we met with the operating groups. They came out, they said, we're going to try and figure this out, make it work so the contractor can break out one of our manholes, and then they can proceed from there. The gas main work, as he mentioned regarding backfill, that's more in the realm of, let's say, further north of the intersection. It doesn't have anything to do with the interference with the water main, but it will in the future when they want to switch the traffic flow to, let's say, the traffic will be on the west side and then the contractor will be working on the east side. That may affect that in the future. So I'm waiting on an answer from engineering on my end to say, the pipe north of the existing pipe is sufficient. You can backfill and proceed from there because it's an old main, and typically it's from the 1930s, just to let everyone know, and it's very old. And when I expose it, I like to have, generally we like to have engineering or someone like corrosion inspect it and tell us yes, no, is it sufficient? Can we leave it? And then just backfill, and then at a future date, somebody within Con Ed will decide to replace it or not. But right now, for the Worth Street project, everyone's just waiting on an answer. Can we proceed, backfill, or replace? Like I said, it's with engineering right now to resolve that. So currently, it's not affecting anything, but later on, it may. But we're working on it. That's the gist of it.
And so at this point, we still have the completion date, even with having to figure this out, will still be July 20th, 2020.
Yeah, they're working on it currently. I don't anticipate it being too much longer.
Okay, cool. And of course, then, just in case weather gets in your way, but.
Yes.
Any questions?
Yes.
I can't hear anything.
Okay, so I thought nobody has a question. So I will move to the next project, the Bogados Plaza.
Wait. There's no questions from the committee members, but we do have a question from a project.
Oh, okay, sorry.
In the area. So I'm going to bring over Robert Trabasia and Winston Wolf, I believe. Robert, is that right, Winston Wolf? You can unmute yourself, sir. Robert? Okay. Mr. Wolf, are you the person who has the drawings? I think you're trying to speak. Mr. Wolf? Mr. Trabasia? Is everyone hearing me? Is it
Winston Wolf's name keeps appearing as though he's speaking?
Yeah, I hear you, Lucian. I see Winston Wolf, but he doesn't light up.
Well, can you check your microphone? There's a.
Let's see.
Oh, yeah.
Winston here.
Okay, hello.
Hi. Bob wanted to speak. I'm with TRA Studio Architects.
Well, I can. You have some slides to show. I can give you privileges, so you can go ahead and load those up. Do you have Mr. Trump's phone number to text him or call him?
Yes.
Was this the 52 or 54 Worth Street?
35 Worth Street.
Oh, hey, that's enough. 35 Worth Street, yeah.
Okay, so I'm showing the builder's
Okay, do you hear me
plan
now?
Yes.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, sorry. Winston, if you can put the approved builder's pavement plan up. Where we have a vault that the owner of the building has been shoring up supports for the past couple of years, and it's important that at this point we undertake the reconstruction of the vault and the new sidewalk. As well as along with that, when the street was widened, the curb is now 3 feet over the vault line, the existing vault line. So as part of the as part of the solution, DOT wanted that area sealed off and backfilled. So if you can go to that detail on that section, Winston. Yeah, so that's that area on the upper left. So we would like to start the work, and we think it's a good time to start. Yes.
You have feedback.
Hello?
Yes, you have feedback. On or preparation.
Do you hear me? Am I?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear.
Okay. So we went to the contractor, met with the Liz Batiste and the project manager for the street contractor. And he said that he couldn't allow us to work in the street. So I think that now is the best time to do this work while Wirt Street is closed. There's no through traffic there. We need to work in the street in order to fill the overlap of the roadway below. And we would like to also be able to divert the pedestrian traffic on the, in the street as well. So, we don't know if the community board can, if this committee can help us, but you did help us with 173. We were the architects who did that corner project. And I was hoping that our client is hoping that maybe you could help us with getting approval for being able to work in the street and also put a pedestrian lane in the street as well. So we would need 8 feet from the curb in order to do the work.
So who's from DDC? Who is it that? Oops.
So yeah, here's.
Yes, this is Dushyant Rajput, ADC. We will coordinate with city DOT and have a meeting regarding. Did you apply for the permit, by the way? And
yes,
we will coordinate with DOT.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. Have you applied for the permit yet?
Yes, the builder's pavement plan, the DOT plans, they're all approved. And the contractor is trying to, I believe he obtained the permit. Yes, he obtained the permit and now he wanted to coordinate. He spoke with Liz Batiste and the project manager for the street contractor. And, he wanted to coordinate the street access.
Okay, so we will have a meeting with city DOT, with you contractor and city DOT person, and then we will go from there. So
okay.
You have a Liz contact, so we will be in touch with you, and Liz will be the one will be in touch with you regarding the meeting.
Okay.
And so
okay.
Do you have to show phone number or contact information?
I have Liz's contact information, but not the other information.
Okay, so
yeah.
Were you on the email that Liz sent out this morning?
No, I will find out from the Liz. I will have it. I will take care of this issue.
Okay. Just tell me your name. Can you spell it?
Yes, D as in David, U umbrella, S Sam, H Henry, Y yellow, A apple, N Nancy, and T as in Tom. Dushyant.
Okay, got it.
Great.
Okay.
Everyone, this came up really, really recently. This is not something that we were sitting on or anything, but it was really good timing for the meeting today. I think generally this committee tends to want to minimize the amount of disruption to the pedestrian and auto environment, and this project's been going on quite some time. If this area were to be shut down for a sidewalk, sidewalk taken up for this filling of the vault, I think that would, one would ask questions why this couldn't be done when everything was already disrupted. So I thought it was a good opportunity for us to discuss this at committee.
Great. Yeah, because after it's finished, it'll be complete, finished. No closing of the street again.
Okay.
We'll contact one another. Is Liz here
Okay.
tonight?
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question though, before we hang up. So
Yes,
basically,
sure.
how long, is this gonna add time to what's, to the construction on Worth Street? Or is this just, it's gonna be happening while other stuff is going on?
I'd like to interject for a second. This is Liz.
Mhm.
Can you hear me? Okay, so
Hi, Liz.
from my knowledge, the contractor didn't want them in the street, and I'm not clear as to why. So basically, from his end, he denied the permit because it's in his purview to obtain those permits. And so from a coordination standpoint, he didn't want them in the street. I don't know, as you said, Dushyant and they would take care of that, but I do know for a fact that they did apply, and then he said he would not allow them to work in the street. So that's the
Who's
point, I think.
them?
Not allow the vault, people who are applying to do the vault.
But it was
Right, he
DC.
would not allow them to work in the street when he has the permits there. I don't know if it's more than the permits, that's the issue. I'm not sure, but this is where Dushyant would come in. But I wanted to make it clear that the contractor holds the permits and he gets to decide, but I guess with the city coming in, they'll be able to see if in fact that's all it is, or if there's some way that they can do a rider or, whatever they need to do.
Okay. And also, Liz.
So this is Dushyant. So we will review with the city DOT, and then we will go from there.
Okay. If there's a problem, which, because again, as
Of
everybody
course.
said, we'd like this
course.
project to be completed, and we not have to close the street later.
Again,
And I know
yeah.
you will, Liz.
Mhm.
I know
Okay.
you will. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Okay.
So now, Dushyant, are you finished with Worth?
No. Yeah. So I believe nobody has a question regarding the Worth Street, so I will move to the second project, that is the Bogadas Plaza. Yeah, so the Bogadas Plaza, most of the work is almost complete. The only remaining is the tree planting that will happen in the first week of December. We are waiting for some weather requirement to plant the trees. The bench installation only remaining, and with the tree planting, we have to do little bit irrigation system work, but that should not take more time. The main issue right now is the electric connection to the plaza, and the city DOT is aware of that. They have to pay to the Con Ed the invoice, and DOT has already requested City Hall to have the fund approved for the connection, and it should happen sometime in December. So once we have a electric connection to the plaza, sometime in December, second, third week, I am not sure what time, and then we can have the project substantially complete, and then up to DOT to open the plaza for the public.
Dushyant, what is the electricity? What's it do? What's it there for? Lighting or?
Yeah. That's for the electric connection is required for some LED lights in the plaza. Also, there is a irrigation system. Also there is a connection to the clock that will be installed by friend of Bogadas. So electrical connection is required to test the irrigation system also.
Okay.
But right now the inside street lights are fed by the electricity is from the street lights, city street lights.
Right.
So there is some light over there, but it's not ready to substantially complete at this time. So should we complete everything by December?
Okay, great. Any problem? And so when you say completed
Sure.
by December, you mean before Christmas?
It depends on how the city DOT can pay the invoice to the Con Edison, because once they pay, then Con Edison will connect to the will provide the connection from the manhole. So at this time, it's hard to say, but should happen, and we anticipate in December anytime.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. No? Okay, committee, no questions?
Oh,
okay. So I think
Thank you.
Thank you. Is that, did we talk about, was there something on Water Street?
No, I don't believe EDC will come in until
right, you told me that.
the budget comes back.
Okay.
Marlene, is there any updates on any future pipeline projects?
I believe Frankie
Lucian,
can provide some information on the Nassau project, Nassau Street Reconstruction Project. Frankie, please.
Yes, hi, Lucian. Just to double back about Water Street with the EDC work. Amelia, are you still around? We've been in touch.
Yes, I'm here.
I think they're starting soon, correct?
They just got some, I think something from OMB, they said, but it's still going to take some time to get the contract ready. But they believe by early next year, they should be, some activities should start early next year. Not sure what month though.
Okay.
But in the next few months, they should be out there probably, starting to put out their stuff.
We'll expect to have EDC come and give us a rundown before that.
Okay.
So now,
regarding Nassau Street, Lucian, you had asked about it a few meetings ago. They stopped design when COVID hit. So from around March, they halted design and they just restarted design in about the end of October. So right now they're tentatively scheduled for design completion December of this year, and they're expecting construction, I would say, third quarter of next year.
okay, so December 2020 and third quarter of 2021 will start, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And what is the scope of that? I forgot. We don't remember.
This is full reconstruction of Nassau Street from Pine to Maiden Lane.
Okay, so fine. Full construction. And how long is it expected to take?
Oh, I don't know. I don't have specifics of it as of yet.
Okay.
I only have the plan. So I expect that at least it's going to be at least 24 months.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
I would say at least 24 months.
Okay. And you'll update us. You haven't even started yet.
One of the warning flags that come up to me, just because Nassau is such a narrow street, and so the reconstruction of that will dominate that street, and it'll be really important to bring a CCL in very, 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 very early, because there is a large amount of activity and mitigation that we can do by really getting buildings to change the way they do things, because
deliveries and things.
There's just very limited area for you all to work, and then the buildings to function as buildings need to do so. So we need to really think about how they're going to be doing trash, and the residents, and they can wrap their heads around it. So the earlier you can bring somebody on to help us coordinate outreach to all the buildings in that area, the scope of the project area, that would be really, really important for us. What's your timeline of bringing a CCL on?
We don't even have, it hasn't even been bid yet, I don't believe. So I don't even know which consulting firm it is, so I wouldn't know. I can't give you that information as of now.
Okay.
I don't even know who the contractor is.
Keep it in mind.
I think early next year we'll know a little bit more, and once I know, I'll let you guys. I'll tell you guys.
Yeah, we'll want to start immediately for Nassau, just because of the the uniqueness of those conditions there.
Very tiny
Okay.
street.
Yes, horribly tiny street. You said it was
Mm-hmm.
going to go on for about 2 years, and what's the anticipated start date again? Sorry.
As of now, I would say it will start third quarter, but I don't have a specific date. You know, this is the design being done by the end of this year. Then it still needs to go out to bid. It has to go through the whole bid process. So I would say late third quarter, early fourth quarter, sometime late next year. You're looking at the earliest.
Rosa, is your building on Nassau Street?
I am right on the corner. How can you
That's
tell?
on what?
Nassau and Pine.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and we're already getting complaints from people in our building regarding the early start of work that's going on in the neighborhood, and we're also one of the buildings that produce disgustingly large quantities of garbage that line the sidewalk.
What time is work starting? Well, let's wait. We'll discuss this.
Yeah.
That's a separate issue. But okay, so John, you'll come back. Well, everyone, would you please come back in January?
Sure.
And then you'll have some updates on some of these projects that are not going to start next year anyway.
Yes, we'll hopefully have some more updates for you guys once the new year comes, and we'll share those as well.
Okay, great. Anything else you need to tell us?
Not at this time. If you guys have any questions, Lucian, feel free to contact me, and we'll reach out. Try to get
As
some
always,
answers.
thank you so much, Marlene. And thank you,
Everybody,
everyone else.
thank you so
Appreciate all
very
your time.
much. Enjoy all the
100%.
holidays, the upcoming holidays, and please stay safe.
Same
Thank
here.
you.
Same here.
Same you. Enjoy.
Enjoy.
You're coming every couple of months. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Really quick,
Thank you.
looks like we have a hand up, and a call-in user has a hand up.
Uh-oh. Well, wait, don't go just yet.
Is it 646-832 number with a hand up?
Oh, that was me. It was earlier. That was me. Don't
Oh,
worry.
you didn't put your hand down. All right,
Take
yeah.
your hands down.
I forgot to take it down. I'm sorry.
I took it down. I found the button.
Bye.
Be good. Be good.
Again,
Okay.
take care,
Bye.
Liz. Thanks.
Yes,
Bye.
okay, no problem. Happy Thanksgiving.
You too.
Happy
Bye-bye. Rosa.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Bye. Thanks. So Rosa, you have to you have to remind us, and please come back in January. Let's see if we have some updates for you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah, what time is what kind of noise and what time is it starting?
We're getting complaints about noise starting at around 7-ish in the morning.
7-ish.
Yeah.
I mean, they start at 8-ish, but 7-ish seems a little early. Can you possibly, if you can locate where the noise is coming from, we might be able to do something about it?
Actually, no, at our last board meeting, we did determine that, and I'm sorry, but my memory fails me on the details, but I'll find out and get back to you for sure.
Yeah, would
Pat,
you please?
I thought that they weren't supposed to start construction till, or like loud noises till 9.
Not really. They can
Not
start at
really?
8.
At 8, okay.
I mean, what we generally request is that if we call someone into the committee, we ask them to not start the loudest noise that they will be making, at the first thing. But they're legally, right? Lucian, it's 8.
I think it's earlier than that. I think we just have a good relationship with DDC, and they enforce the loud noise at 8, saying that they can do staging and quiet work starting from 7, but that's not a hard, fast rule for all construction.
Right. And as you all know, you've heard me before say we ask them to also make their contractors aware that yelling is a loud noise, So, Rosa, we will try to work on it if we can be of help. Let us know.
Actually, I have a question that's a little strange. Now that we're on this topic,
No
I
strange
hear
questions.
I hear a very high pitched noise, like a crazy high pitched noise that starts in the morning at like 6:30ish. Is that normal? Like, have you ever heard anything like that before?
The only hype I have is an event that's over at the Greek church.
Oh,
There's a vent. Do you have some venting system near your building?
I don't believe so, but okay. Anyway, sorry, I didn't want to take up any time with that.
No, that's fine. I mean, if you happen to be out around 6:30, doing your power walk, maybe you can locate where it is and let us know.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So, where are we? What's next? Mariama, what's going on here? Oh, we've got guests. So I assume that we have Lizzie.
I think housing was next, if I'm correct.
Yeah. So who do we have? We have Lizzie here for Senator Kavanaugh. And who do we have for Yulene? Listen.
Yep, I believe Peter Huynh, Yulene's office, and Claudia as well. I see Claudia and Peter. Bringing over Lizzie. I bring you over as well. I'm gonna go ahead and bring over. Oh wait, hold on a second. Hannah, I'll bring you over just because I'm on a roll. And then Lizzie, let me know if there's anybody else that you have from your office. If I'm missing someone.
Nope, just me tonight.
Okay.
Hi. Yeah.
Hi, good. How is everyone?
We're hanging in there.
Yeah.
And so it's just you, and then who is from Yulene's office?
Hi, everybody. This is Peter,
Peter.
calling in from Assemblymember News Office. Hope everybody is doing well.
We are. How are you?
I'm good. Been
Great.
quite relaxing ever since
Good.
the election.
Yes, we're all a little calmer. So we're going to discuss you had last meeting, put it off until, tonight to discuss the housing, the legislation or anti-eviction legislation. So where do you want to start?
I guess I can start. So from my understanding, you guys want to talk about a 10827, which is the eviction moratorium, and our own cancel rent bill, which is a 10826, and Kavanaugh's access voucher program, which is a 9657, right?
Can you type all of that into the
Or say it
into
again
the chat?
slower. Are you saying like A like apple or 8 like number 8?
A like apple.
Yes.
Hey, like assembly.
Right.
Okay.
So A10826 and A9657?
Yes.
Got it. Thank you. Sorry.
So yes, I will quickly go through the provisions of both a 10827, which is the eviction moratorium, and then I'm going to go over our very own rent and mortgage cancellation bill, and then I'll let Lizzie take over the access voucher program, which is Senator Kavanaugh's bill, and then I guess we can open up the floor to any questions that anybody has, and then go from there. So the eviction moratorium bill is held by Assemblymember Reyes and Senator Myrie. And from my understanding of the bill, it would prevent evictions for the COVID-19 covered period. So the covered period is basically from March 7th to the end of the state of emergency plus 1 year for all residential and commercial tenants. So essentially, it bars any court from authorizing the execution of a warrant of eviction or order any monetary judgment for rent owed to the landlord. So that's, in a nutshell, what Assemblymember Reyes' eviction moratorium bill does. And on top of that, going into our rent and mortgage cancellation bill, essentially what our bill would do is it would suspend all rent and mortgage payments for all residential tenants and small homeowners for the state of emergency and for 90 days after the end of the state of emergency. In a nutshell, it also provides tenants and homeowners with a right to relief. So prohibitions against any fines, fees, eviction, and it also prevents the accrual of any suspended payments and adverse credit reporting on their credit reports as well. So that, in a nutshell, is what our bills do. If Lizzie wants to take it from there, we can do that and then open up the floor to any questions.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Peter. I will catch the baton. As you all probably know by now, the narrative is definitely not a zero-sum game, but there are some alternative aspects to how we can approach the accruing back rent and the threat of eviction. Of course, as Peter noted, there are the eviction moratorium bills that are being presented and should be voted on very quickly. There's also, as Assemblymember Yulene passionately espouses, is the cancel rent movement. There has been the separate movement to pay the back rent and the continuing accruing rent due to COVID-related disasters with the federal aid that we desperately need. Senator Kavanaugh has been on that aspect of the perspective since, this is all streamlined into vital services that we need. Property taxes pay some of the most crucial and critical local community resources. So we do have the CRAP bill. It's Senate Bill S, as in the Senate, 8140B. And we continue to advocate for federal funding for that comprehensive rent relief. In essence, this bill is going to provide rental assistance in the form of emergency housing vouchers. It's going to subsidize rent that exceeds 30% of a household's income for household that suffered a significant loss of income during the pandemic. And as you guys all know, there has been the Emergency Rent Relief Act that was passed, and the Department of Homes and Community Renewal has distributed $40 million of the $100 million in the Federal CARES Act funding that it mobilized. There has been justified criticism of there not just being enough. And Senator Kavanaugh is revising the legislation to make the eligibility criteria less restrictive so that more applicants can benefit. But again, this is 1%. And when we made this into statute, was 1% of the need, even less of the need that we have of now proportionately. So really put into perspective that we just really do need that federal aid. In regards to the housing access voucher, this was pre-pandemic, which seems like years ago from today. But this, if you guys wanted to have the bill number, this is S as in Senate 7628A as in Apple. This is modeled after the voucher program for programs like Section 8, where it would allow for people to have the rental assistance in the form of housing vouchers to eligible families who are experiencing homelessness or are facing an imminent loss of housing. And this would be to designate the public housing agencies in the state to administer that program. There are several housing voucher programs that are available through the city, as you guys are all aware. And this would be equivalent to the state level, contingent on the money that we thought would be available before the pandemic hit. So very different circumstances, but just in case you guys wanted to know a little bit of the context of that.
Right. For the moment, questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Oh, sorry. How much federal aid are we asking for?
Yeah, the figures are a bit, it's a bit different. So in the beginning, when there were discussions of the HEROES Act being passed, the CARES Act 2.0, we were hoping for $100 billion in nationally and $10 billion to be allocated to New York State specifically for housing. With that said, That was months ago now, which is hard to believe. And, you know, the need for this has been even exacerbated because of the lack of action, and only to worsen. So, you know, we're continuously having this to be an iterative process of asking for funding, but our official ask has been, since the HEROES Act, $100 billion nationwide and $10 billion for New York State.
And so you haven't increased that ask.
We are constantly talking about it. I will see. I don't want to miss. So I will.
That's fine. You'll let us know.
Yes.
Mariama, you.
Yes, the suspension that Peter referenced, at such time as it's lifted, for how long would a tenant have, you know, to gather the funds and to pay? Like if you say the suspension's been lifted today, how long do they have to?
So you're talking about either the eviction moratorium, or are you talking about the our cancel rent bill?
Yeah, I think it was your cancel rent bill.
Right. So for our cancel rent bill, it would not make tenants liable for any payments that they've missed. So the rent would not occur over time.
Okay. And I guess for the other program, the Senate program, if the Fed money doesn't come until at least January, I mean, I think realistically speaking, that's the earliest we could expect it. That's when the legislature goes back for New York State, and that's when we have a new president that may be willing to do it, right? So if we have to wait until then, like what happens in the meantime? What happens in December if evictions have already started in New York?
So, a little echo.
But have they started in New York?
I saw some upstate. I don't know if that's New York City too or not.
Hello, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, beautiful. So the state of evictions currently, while they are permitted, there's a huge backlog of eviction cases. Holdover cases have been proceeding at a snail's pace, and you know, relation to the massive eviction rates that we saw before the pandemic. So for better or worse, like in lieu of any real statutory protections that we have been calling for in the state Senate and Assembly, that has been kind of a saving grace for us in regards to evictions. But again, not sufficient. We need this to become law. There are several different eviction moratorium bills that are on the table that the Senate and the Assembly need to pass. With that said, the Emergency Rental Relief Act, ERRA, is as wholly insufficient as it was to mobilize as any money that we had in the New York State budget to try to address at least a little bit of the problem. But again, this is something that is insufficient. It's a difficult question, but you know, as we're moving forward, we're going to try to make sure that anything that we can mobilize during that time before January, that we can. Again, we're trying to fix the legislation, and we're trying to vote on this in the legislature as soon as possible. Although we don't know when we're going back into session, everything is still very much so in limbo, despite our relieved anxieties about the federal election. So as that ongoing crisis continues, we will make sure to mobilize anything that we can. Again, I don't it's a difficult question for sure, but I hear you, Mariama. Yeah.
You'll keep us when you.
Of course.
So, would a reso from us be of some help? Did I lose everybody?
It definitely wouldn't hurt.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it would help. So just to also add on to what Lizzie said. So we in the Assembly, you know, Yulene's been pushing with other Assembly members to to have the Speaker call us back into session by the end of the year. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. We've been pushing really hard, not only for housing legislation, but also revenue bills. As you guys know, we're facing a huge budget deficit that's coming up next year. But it seems like state leadership seems to be holding off until a federal aid package is passed before they call everybody back into session, still, even after the elections. So, we're trying to do what we can. It would be definitely helpful. I think that if you guys passed a resolution in support of these bills, because it's really important for us to go into session as soon as possible, not wait until a new federal aid package is passed, because people will be losing their homes very shortly. So we need to add some more sense of urgency to everything.
And so, Peter, again, I'm sorry. Were you able to put the bill number in the chat?
Yes, I am on my phone, so I'm trying to figure out how to do that.
Oh,
right
okay.
now.
Oh, you just shoot.
I will.
Shoot Lucian an email.
An
it'll be okay.
email. Yeah, that's what
Yes, I will
say.
shoot him
Yeah.
an email. Mhm.
Right. And Lizzie also, please.
Yeah, no problem.
Right. Two different resos, one in support of Senator Kavanaugh's bills and one in support of Assemblywoman News bills. So if you would, just shoot us emails. Questions from the committee? Or
We have some.
any
We
of our
have
guests?
Bob. We have Justine, Detta. That's all I see. And then Taylor.
In that order.
Yes.
Bob.
Okay, I just had a couple of questions. I think that these laws are really essential, and they are really meant to help a lot of people. But I'm worried about whether or not they're balanced. And so my understanding of no eviction, of the eviction moratorium, was that no one could be evicted for 1 year, could be evicted for the whole period of the state of emergency, and then plus 1 year, and that the rent program, if you cannot pay the rent, then it's the whole period of COVID,
Rent and mortgage.
90 days. So my concern is to the small owners that have to pay for heating oil, have to pay to fix things. How does this balance out? I mean, is there any way has the legislature thought about how to protect those interests or how to keep those payments going so that the owners also have a balance here? Because that's it's already been an amazing 9 months. It'll easily run through March or April next year, so it'll be a whole year plus a year. These are very long periods for little operators to survive. So is that under consideration in this?
Yes, so that is under consideration in our cancel rent bill. Another section of our bill also establishes a small landlords fund. So essentially, what the fund would do is it would help small landlords become whole by taking a combination of federal money and state money, earmark a certain amount of those funds into the small landlords fund. And essentially, any landlord that has tenants that are covered under our cancel rent bill would be eligible to receive an amount of money up to the amount of dollars that they've lost from missed payments. So that is, for our bill, there is a mechanism that is contingent on, federal funding and state funding. I can't speak for Assemblymember Reyes's bill, but I will say that, the bills that we introduce, many of them are not in their final form yet. When they go into committee, there will be amendments once they get to the floor. There will be other amendments. So, this or it could be included in a package of other bills as well. By all means, just as the bills are introduced, it doesn't mean that they're the final versions of the bill. We are very cognizant. We've had several meetings with small landlords in our district, and they've brought these concerns to us, and we're trying to work them into our legislation as much as possible, because we do understand that there are a lot of small landlords out there that are also financially suffering as well. So we're going to do what we can to make them whole as well.
Yep.
I have a question.
Follow up on that.
What's the definition of that you're using for small property owners?
So as of now, I believe it is ranked by, I have to look at the bill language again, but I believe right now it is the number of units within the landlord's portfolio. But we have been discussing with certain advocacy groups and some groups upstate as well about possibly changing the definition of a small landlord. Because even though a landlord might have X number of units in their portfolio, it doesn't mean that they're not running at a loss, or they're generating income if they have a large number of properties in their portfolio. So we're still working that out with Senator Salazar's office as well as housing groups right now. So we will be updating that language shortly.
I just have to say that it seems to me as though the whole industry is going to be starving through this. So even the fairly big players will be suffering. And so I think a collapse there is also possible and important. And so, but the thing here is all of this is balanced on the hope that there's going to be federal money. But I pray for it every day, but I'm not sure that it's coming. I look at the sky and the clouds don't seem to have big rain in them. If the federal government doesn't come through, then how will the state of New York get through the first 6 months of next year?
Yes, agreed. So that is also something that we've also taken into consideration. So another thing that we're working on with a coalition of lawmakers is a revenue package. So, this revenue package is comprised of several bills, ultramillionaires tax, stock buyback, et cetera, et cetera. So that's going to essentially help us raise revenue on the state level to help pay for not only the budget deficit that the state is facing in the next year, but over the next several years. And on top of that, Yulene is also working on several bills that would tax companies, essentially tax companies for the sale and use of personal data. So that's something that's on the back burner right now that we're still working on, but that's in the pipeline. So we're hoping that these items will generate revenue for the state to help essentially pay for these bills.
Yeah, that was a really great synopsis, Peter. But also just to follow up on Bob, your two questions, there are several different eviction moratorium bills that are being proposed. I believe the one that you were talking about with the year between is Senator Marie's bill S8667, excuse me. There is also Senate Bill S8788A, which suspends proceedings to recover real property statewide until January 2021, and essentially is a shorter time period. Again, Senator Kavanaugh is a sponsor of both of these bills, so these are not zero sum. And Bob, in regards to your very, very valid concern, that's kind of has been the premise of our perspective, that this narrative of landlords pitted against tenants is actually not the reality of a lot of the tenants that we've been seeing and the experiences that we've been seeing. We've been meeting with the group Small Property Owners of New York, a coalition of property owners all across the state of who are many of them are mom and pop or have very limited definition or limited safety nets that they can also fall onto, who pay the property taxes that pay, again, our essential services. So that has been the basic fundamental idea of the CRAP bill. And, this is definitely contingent on that federal aid and, again, needing to increase as much income as Peter said in the state as well.
I just wanted to end my comments with just two big concerns here. One is, even if you hold off evictions for a long time, when they happen, we really have to think through what we do for the people who face eviction. That's a terrible thing, and how we respond to that, even if we can stop them. I think even from my own point of view, if I failed to make a payment in 1 month and 2 months and 3 months, I can't even imagine how much I pay in a year, and I've been pretty fortunate. So if for people who aren't working, who have kids, that they never will have enough to make those repayments. They won't ever have enough to overcome eviction, and I don't think that they could ever have enough to repay their rent, however long you make them innocent of paying it. So those are my concerns.
Question, if I could pipe in. This is Tom Burton.
Hi, Tom. Well, we had a list. We have an order.
Yeah.
Mariama?
Justine is next.
Okay, sorry, Tom. I'm going to go and my question is going to kind of follow up on Bob's question in terms of funding. First of all, I support these bills. I'm really glad to hear that you're focusing on the small landlords and the landlords as well as the tenants, because both are suffering. I mean, everybody's suffering with the situation right now, thanks to COVID. But something that I want to call and make sure that it's on your guys' radar as well is that if these bills, the revenue package and other places to get funding for this money to kind of fill in the shortfall of the budget for New York City, New York State, they don't pass, or we're still stuck without any money. What has been the fallback, as I'm learning, as I'm researching this, has been to increase property taxes, real property taxes on Class 2 homes, which kind of hits in the pocket of Manhattan in particularly, but other places, because Class 2 homes are condos and co-ops. And I have to tell you that while we're paying attention, and we should pay attention to keeping people who are renters in their homes, we also have to be aware that people who are owning their homes and owning their property can be forced out of their homes from ridiculously large increases in their taxes. Something that's happened in New York has been that there's been a cap on Class 1 homes in the tax situation, but Class 2 homes, there is no cap. And I know that there was a discussion and there was some review as to what was fair, what was not fair. And I guess I got to tell you guys, when you're looking at whatever the mayor commissioned and that evaluation of the taxes when it comes to Class 1 versus Class 2, if your conversation is how do we get $5 billion or whatever it is, if the pie stays the same from real estate taxes, all you're going to do is pass the pain between Class 1 and Class 2. The pie has to shrink. So I guess what I'm going to say to you is we need other ways to get money. You cannot look to revenue. You cannot look for revenue and shortfalls in the budget from real property taxes, because you will be putting homeowners out of their homes. And that's what I have to say. And I don't expect an answer particularly, but I'd like to keep the discussion going.
No, that's duly noted. Thank you, Justine.
Next, I'm running back to I had to answer my
I
door.
think Detta took her hand down, but I don't know if that's because she's going next.
Yeah, I no longer see Detta's hand.
So then maybe
Tom, and then Taylor.
Detta's hand is still up.
Oh.
Okay. My question was already asked, so I won't ask my question, but I can offer some clarity about real estate taxes. Class 1 homes have one type of cap on them. Class 2A, 2B, and 2C also have a cap, but it's a little higher. But then Class 2 have no cap.
And
Class
we are
2
class 2 in Manhattan. We're all class 2.
Yeah, well, class 2 is any building 11 units and bigger, whether it's rental, whether it's condo, or whether it's co-op. And yes, those taxes are calculated on an income approach instead of an estimated market value approach. They tend to be a lot higher than the class 1 taxes to begin with, plus they don't have that.
Correct. And just for the record, here in Battery Park City, I'm not even talking about the ground rent. I want to make that 100% clear. This is the property tax that I'm talking about.
Yes, that's what I was referring to. Okay,
Thanks,
you.
Betta. Thank you. So Tom? Did we lose Tom? Tom, unmute yourself.
You didn't lose me, but I had trouble with my fat finger. I was going to ask about issuing a bond, and if that has been floated at the state level of similar to war bonds. We are in a situation that I think parallels that level of mobilization, and I'm wondering if that idea is being talked about and how we could get some COVID bonds issued so that we can self-help as a state.
So I believe I heard something like that several months ago. In terms of whether or not it's been taken into our revenue package, I don't believe so. But I can definitely do some research and circle back with you guys on that once I figure more information out. But yes, I can definitely take a look.
Where do you think you heard it? In government, or just you heard me say it 2 months ago?
No. So essentially, we've had revenue meetings, and if I remember correctly, the idea was floated. But in terms of it materializing into something, I'm not sure that it has. So I'm just going to have to look back and see in my notes where that is right now.
Is there any depth on that we could either receive or like what would the process be? Anything beyond what you just shared with us now?
No, not that I know of right now.
I would second that. I'm not sure of anything, if there's any movement behind that.
I would just like to speak with Tom and say that's a pretty good idea, and maybe we could put a resolution along those lines to support the idea of a thing like a bond, because it's a very fair way to meet an exceptional need.
Yeah, I would support that motion.
Okay, we'll talk about that after we get through all of our
Same, I think it's a really good idea. So after Taylor, we also have a caller, 917-783. Lucian?
Well, let Taylor go first. Taylor?
I can speak now.
Taylor, I've unmuted you.
Thank you. And I wanted to just thank the committee for bringing these topics up. I'm so excited, and thank you to the speakers who are presenting them. I support this as a resident of CB1. And I also just wanted to note that it sounded like one of the things we can do with the reso is also ask that the bills be brought to the floor before the end of the year. So I just wanted to add to see if you guys would be willing to include that possibly as a line item. Thank you.
When we start to write the reso, bring that back, Taylor. Taylor?
Sure. Sorry, I'm muted again.
I would say state, city, we should ask for it everywhere, and federal,
Okay, somebody keep a note of that so we can add that. And who was the caller?
Lucian, we have somebody on the phone.
You're unmuted.
So the
Hi,
ninth
is it me? Am I calling?
Hi, identify yourself, please.
It's Mark Amoruso.
Hi, Mark. Oh,
okay
it's
to
Mark.
go?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I just have a comment. I don't have a question. Well, I don't know what to say. I'm perplexed at the suggestion and the continuous mindset and idiocy of a millionaire's tax companies. Why don't we just get more? Why don't we just get people to say, just leave, You know, leave New York. They're leaving in droves. Why don't we get more people to leave? What the state should be doing is to help landlords and other businesses is to defer taxes and stop nickel and diming them on every goddamn regulation and summons and then for these things, particularly with restaurants. The small-minded thinking, instead of thinking outside the box to try and fix these things and just tax and tax and tax and tax and expect federal money for a pre-existing condition of complete mismanagement of the state and the city is ludicrous, and it's not going to happen. And more people are leaving, and I'm sorry to say the place I grew up in is never going to be the same because of this mentality of a continuing mentality of tax, and it'll be fixed, and the feds will bail us out. It's not going to happen. These people are ruining our city. It's disgusting, and I'm pissed off about it. That's my comment.
Thank you, Mark. All right.
I'm not opposed to including tax deferment in that list of proposals that we just talked about.
Yeah, I would add that too, tax deferment.
I agree.
Creative ways to do it make sense, because
I'm a small business owner
Yeah.
down here. I'm down 95%. I still have to pay my sales tax on the
Yeah.
few shekels I do pull in. I have been charged late fees on everything. I chose not to pay my income taxes last year for 2019, which were, substantial. I had a good year in 2019 because I needed the money to continue.
It's all being eroded now.
To continue losing money this year.
Right.
So, and spending it on my boats and on my business. So, and I still have payroll taxes. And, so I couldn't agree more with what Mark had to say there, that, I'm not going into, because I don't know how mismanaged our state and city is.
Right.
But I do think that tax, deferrals or abatement, and, just giving us a break. If you tell us we can't work and we can't make money, then you can't charge us for the rest of it. And I think that's, that's just a sort of an obvious thing. And then we have to come up with alternate revenue streams. And,
Tom, I don't want to cut you off, but we need to move on so we can get to the reso, which would
we have
include
Betty
those
now.
thoughts.
We have Betty now, Pat.
All right, let's go to Betty. Unmute Betty.
Hi, thanks. I wanted to speak. Actually, I'm in favor with a lot of the things said, but want to pull them together. There are a lot of people hurting. I am not for just waiving rent to stop evictions, unlimited amount of time.
Whoever's
Why?
phone is ringing.
Yeah, that's mine. It's
Okay.
There is so much need to help one group stay a year beyond the pandemic. I had to move out of New York at one point because I couldn't afford to live here. I wouldn't enable people to just keep adding on to the debt that they owe because it's a hole they'll never get out of. That's just my opinion. And I don't think I agree with Mark, the feds aren't going to bail out the full amount. So we can't squeeze the small business owners. We can't squeeze the people who own the buildings, everybody for the sake of just one group, the renters who aren't paying rent. Maybe some of them should move on. Maybe should just move to a different place within New York around the new occupation they do find. But it needs to be a much more balanced approach, not for any one group, because everybody's hurting. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, if I can speak to that, Betty, I could not have said it better. And Mark, I hear your guys' frustrations. One thing that we are trying to balance. This is Lizzie. Can you guys hear me okay? Better.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So I hear your guys' frustrations, and it's a very, very difficult time to be balancing so many interests, but that is the prerogative that we have. In one bill called the Small Business Recovery Lease, carried in the Senate by Senator Brian Kavanaugh and in the Assembly by Assemblymember New, we are looking to provide the city with the authority to provide tax abatements for commercial landlords who are willing to settle on a mutual agreement with their commercial tenant, specifically with small business owners, to receive a rent credit for the landlord as an incentive to restructure existing leases for a longer term stability, as well as a deferment on some of the payment in a way that is balanced. Again, the state's responsibility in this would be to authorize the city to make these changes that need to be made to taxes, to tax structure, as this is a very specifically city issue.
Okay. Any comments, anyone?
I also wanted to make the distinction that I asked Peter earlier, specifically the question as to whether or not the people would have to catch up with their rent later, like it was going to come back. And that's not the case. I think that was inferred by one of the recent comments, that how are people going to catch up? They're not going to have to catch up, according to.
It's being canceled, right? That's the request. It's being canceled.
The state is paying for it, essentially.
That's assuming there's money from the feds to do that. And that doesn't help anyone who owns a condo or anything, because they can't get those kinds of breaks. They don't pay taxes, they just lose.
Who doesn't pay taxes?
Anyone who owns a condo or other property. If you lose your job, there's no bailout for you.
No, you just lose the home. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
That was my point of my.
That's why I said, listening to everybody, that's reality.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's all connected. You're right. And it's very, very convoluted, and we've got to figure out a way to function when we get money from someplace else. I don't know where it's coming
All
from.
right, I'm going to interrupt the discussion for one reason and one reason only. First of all, are there any other questions for Peter and Lizzie? And then Peter
I
and
don't
Lizzie.
see any more questions, and I move that we go to a resolution to support the
I had
bill.
one more question, which was related to the current topic of rent and sort of trying to find some equitable, way at this. Has there been discussion of people that can you hear me? Sorry. Has there been discussion of people that are that there be a test that you have to have been affected? You can't just decide you're not paying rent if your income remained the same and you didn't get laid off, et cetera. Because I assume that there's that going on as well, but so that you have to prove on in a basic way, or at least testify to the fact that you are COVID affected within a certain parameter, and then and you get the money, and then afterwards, there can be an enforcement afterwards that makes sure that you were telling the truth. Something. Has that been discussed or as part of this?
So yes, it has been discussed. I want to preface this with the fact that, as I mentioned earlier, the bill goes through, any bill goes through a deliberation process. There's negotiation back and forth between certain details of the bill. So the bill that we have now might not look very similar to the bill we end up with. So I just want to preface that real quick. But in terms of having a means test for whether or not a person is in need of rental assistance, there isn't a mechanism for means testing in our current council rent and mortgage bill, because there is an issue with means testing. COVID affects basically everybody, from U.S. citizens to undocumented immigrants. So by implementing tests, essentially we'd be leaving out those individuals that may not have documented income, might not be U.S. citizens. So we wanted to make an inclusive bill that would include those groups as well. But like I said before, we still are looking at the bill. We still are looking at the language, and then when we go back into session, we're going to have further discussions on this, and then we might end up with a different bill.
Okay. All right. I end this topic and go back to it to discuss the reso, but I'd like to end it right now so we can move to, unless someone else has a question, or again, Peter and Lizzie, if you have anything else you'd like to add. No?
I don't see any more hands,
so,
Pat.
Okay, great. Peter, Lizzie, thank you both so very much. If you don't mind, again, would you shoot those bill numbers to Lucian so we can all look them up? And
yes,
we will write a reso. Since you're not really you don't know when you're going back to session, we'll discuss in committee whether we'll try to get it out to be approved at next Tuesday's full board meeting or whether we'll wait till December. But we can talk about that in committee after, later on.
And feel free to stay on. We actually have another state issue coming up with the Welcome Life Trans ban.
I was going to discuss that too. So good job.
I was hoping we would move to number 4 because we don't have a speaker for number 3, so that Hannah can go if she'd like to. So I wanted to do number 4 next, the anti-racism.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hey, Pat, I'm so sorry.
Who am I listening to? Oh, Tammy. Hi, Tammy.
Sorry, I tried to stick my hand up, but I was having computer issues on my side. Would Peter and the team from Senator Kavanaugh's, Lizzie and such, be able to send us whatever they have on potentials based on the last conversation, do some kind of written follow-up so we can track it for you to do a reso on?
Peter?
Please send me that email.
Yeah, if Peter and Hannah can send us, or Lizzie, anything that they have that we can follow up by email for the last fiscal rejuvenation, I'll call it.
What do you mean? An update on the bill since the pandemic started?
Yeah.
Peter, Lizzie? All right, we'll think about it, and then if you have something, would you please shoot it to us? The other question I had actually was, do you know how much money is owed both between mortgages and rent? Do you have any clue?
Not off the top of my head, but something that's semi-related, I believe, is the budget deficit that we will be facing in terms of the pandemic. I believe the figure that was floated around was 100 billion over the next 5 years, and that's only going to be growing. So
that's for everything.
That's just New York, right?
Yeah,
and that's everything.
Which is another reason why the bonds are a good idea.
But wait, so the 100 billion, that includes also MTA?
I believe so. That was the number that I was given, but I can double check on that for you guys.
So you don't have a breakout number for just rent and mortgage?
I do not.
Okay. So please send Lucian anything that you have, including the bill numbers, so that we can follow up with this. And in the meantime, thank you both so much for spending your evening with us, and have wonderful holidays to come, and be safe.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for
listening. And again, like, feel free to stay if you want. Before we move to the next topic, I have a question. Is it my headphones that I'm having trouble with, or is everyone having trouble with the sound breaking up and crackling? Yes?
I think it's you.
Might be your headphones.
It's me? Okay, I'm taking off these headphones. I'm going to try to see if I can hear you. So let's move to the Anti-Racism in Public Act of 2020. Got Hannah here. Let's do that and then we'll go back.
Hi, everyone. I will be very brief. So first of all, I just want to sort of like to tie a ribbon around the last conversation. So the HEROES Act is still stalled, obviously, in the Senate. I will keep you posted if anything comes of it. I know that the Senate's ended their session tonight, and we'll be back after Thanksgiving, so we don't have an update anytime soon. There's a lot of things kind of up in the air on that, but if I do get any information, I will make sure to update you on that. In terms of the Anti-Racism and Public Health Act, so I don't have a new update since I last spoke with you last month. The bill's been introduced in both the House and the Senate, but it has not been assigned to committee yet. So we're going to keep kind of working on that and keep you posted on it. I will say that the AMA, the American Medical Association, had a special meeting and they recognize racism as a public health threat. So there is some traction around this and some conversation around this. So I can send out the link of just the press release that they had sent out. I know that Senator Warren tweeted it out. So hopefully that urges it to move a little bit more forward. But I don't have an immediate update. So again, I am sorry. And I know that at the last meeting, we were asked about how the information kind of shows up in our district. And so I'm working on getting that data for you. So hopefully I should have that by the next time we meet. So we'll keep working at that. So if there's any specific questions about the bill or about how it's moving, you can feel I can try to answer the best that I can. I can also ask some questions to our legislative director in DC and get back to you as well.
So can we continue to put the item on every month until we get to it? Is that okay?
Sure. I mean, I will say that I don't know what's going on in the lame duck session, but I'm happy to, stop by and give you an update the best that I can. And if anything happens in the interim, Mariama, I'll make sure to email you. I know that you've been, really pushing this measure, and I just thank you for that. So we'll keep at that.
Thank you.
Of course.
And if you can't stop by, you can always just shoot, an update.
Oh, I'm always happy to spend a Thursday evening with you all. So it's my pleasure.
We enjoy having you. Thank you. Thank you. So anything else that
I see a question from Taylor.
Taylor then.
Hi, thank you so much. Oh. Sorry about that. I'm just so excited to hear the statistics that are, I guess, specific to our district. So I hope that if it comes to the community board, I can learn it there. I'm also trying to advocate for it in other spaces. I know it's a really important one. So I think having info available like how locally could really help with local advocacy. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Taylor. Any other questions from the committee?
Nope. Tammy, your hand is from before, right?
Yep, sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay, so Hannah, I was asking though, is there anything else that you'd like to update on? Congressman Nadler is working on?
Oh, I was going to come on the Tuesday full board, so I'm happy to give you a specific update then.
Give us this Tuesday.
Sure. I was just going to, I had actually emailed Lucian and Tammy, but the most important thing that's happening, which we're really excited about, is that the Verrazano split tolling is going to affect December 1st. So after years of advocacy, especially from Lower Manhattan, hopefully we'll see the benefits of having that split toll, and that, the traffic on Canal Street will start to dissipate. I'm trying to think of what, and also, it's a busy DC season, so we're trying to, hopefully plan for what's coming next. We'll see what happens with the, elections in Georgia. But that's kind of our focus at the moment. If there's anything else, I'll make sure I'll be there on Tuesday, so I'll make sure to add as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So
I'm sending you an email. I owe you one. So sorry.
Not a problem. All right. Good night, everyone.
Okay. Any other questions, Hannah? All right. Then Hannah, again, we'll see you Tuesday. But if for some reason we don't get it again, we'll say it. Enjoy the holiday. Stay safe, and thank you for being with us always.
All right. Thanks all.
Bye. Good night. Okay. So we're going to move on to the last item on our agenda, which Mariama wrote through. So, yay, it's very comprehensive. Mariama, I hope everybody got a look at it. And Mariama, it's your baby, so take it away.
I didn't even print it out, but so let me go to my.
Do you have your email?
Yes, I do. So there it is. Okay.
And oh, before we start, Justine, did you get it? Who hadn't got it that needed it? Anyone have it?
I think Betty needed it. Yeah, Betty needed it and I sent it to her. So I think she has.
Okay, great.
Sorry,
Okay.
I was on mute.
Sorry, go ahead, Miriam.
Okay, so does anybody have, if everybody received it, did you have an opportunity to read it? Are there any comments or questions? Or is it okay already as it is?
Can I add, let's see, 1, 2, 3, the fourth, fourth whereas you have, and the Brooklyn District Attorney, and I think we should add his name, and it was, I looked it up, darn, where did I put it? I'll find it, but I just thought we should.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Was it Budby? No, it wasn't. I have it somewhere. Oh, Eric
Extremely well
Gonzalez.
written. Sorry.
Eric Gonzalez.
Are you able to type it in there now, Lucian,
No,
or?
It's read only at this point. What I'll do is I'm going to take it down. I'm going to put it into a Google Doc and I'll put some comments in. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Has everyone had a chance to read it? If not, we can kind of go through it quickly. Who hasn't read it?
I don't see any hands about it.
No, I vote that it's good. I loved it. It was well done.
Great.
So
You're getting reviews.
I'm getting right. If I could make a comment, vote on it, I will. But certainly if
Well,
people
let's-
haven't read it, we should do
Just
that.
give it a minute and let's see if anybody has anything else to say. But you're getting reviews, Mariana.
Thank you.
You're giving Betty a run for her money with writing resolutions.
Hey. Anybody? Anything? Going once? Did everyone get a chance to read it before we close it and vote? No comments? So can we do?
If this passes, or when this passes, I should say, I'll just do a little bit of cleaning up and putting it in the CB1 format.
Please do.
Yeah. So it'll look a little differently, but not only in form and not in content.
I see that Burton Phillips has his hand raised. I don't know if that's old or new, and I don't know who, and as an attendee, I'm just telling
Tom. Oh. Did Mark get a chance to read it? Mark, you there? Okay.
Burton Phillips, is that you, Tom? Or that's no.
Hi,
So
everybody.
Lucian, okay.
Hi, this is Burton Phillips. I'm Senator Hoylman's Albany Chief of Staff. So
Oh, thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for taking up this resolution. The resolution is wonderful. This is a bill that's an absolute top priority of Senator Hoylman's. We've built a lot of support in the Senate for it, and we hope we can get this done early in the new year. And if anyone has any questions on the bill or anything, happy to field it. But really, just want to express the gratitude that you're taking this up.
Yeah.
This is Mariama's first resolution.
It
is.
It's an amazing cause, and thank you for doing it. And thanks Senator Hoylman, please.
Yes, thank you to the senator.
Yep.
Taylor has a question.
Taylor, unmute yourself.
I just wanted to say thank you so much. I support this. Thank you to the center. Thank you, Mariama. Thank you, Quality of Life.
You're welcome. Okay, so if there are no other questions, no other additions to the reso, no other clarification needed, then we're going to vote on it. All right?
Somebody gonna make a motion, right?
Right. Justine?
Yep, I did make the motion, so let's make a motion to vote. Somebody's got to second it, right?
I second it. Tom
Awesome.
seconds it.
All right, so.
All right, let me read out the names and we'll just go ahead and I'll punch it into the vote sheet. 1 second. Okay. Pat?
Yes.
Mariama?
Yes.
Mark?
Is he unmuted to be able to speak?
I left him unmuted. Let me take a look. Oh, he's not on.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Tom,
Yes.
Justine,
Yes.
no Fern, no Francis, Mimi,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
and then Jill.
Is Jill here?
Jill, you still there?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Ah, hi, Jill.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all in favor. All present members in favor.
Okay, great. And Mariama, you get a round of applause for your first.
Thank
first
you.
reso. Thank
Round
you
of applause
doing
for
all
you
the work.
guys too for supporting this great work, this great cause.
And Burton, are you still there?
I am, yes.
So thank you for coming. Enjoy your holiday. We've passed the reso. We'll present it to the full board on Tuesday if you'd like to join in that meeting. And be safe.
Thank you very much. You too.
Thank you. Good night. Okay, so let's circle back to, first of all, remember everyone, next month, the first half of our meeting, we're going to do reso writing. And now not only do we have Betty and Lucian to help us learn how to do it, but we now have Mariama, okay? So let's circle back to the reso that we wish to write for the New York State housing. It's very complicated. First, I guess we should decide how lots of input from the committee just now, like the bonds, and not necessarily everyone's in agreement on where the money should come from. And so, Lucian, you have some suggestions on how we should tackle this?
Yeah. I guess the first thing that comes to mind is that we can use this as our subject matter for December, if you'd like. We're gonna, once we get the information from everyone in email, we can make sure everyone can read up on what bills are out there, and then I can create like a menu of items that we can kind of go through and assemble it. That way, we have something that everyone cares about,
like bullet points.
Yeah, and putting together the resolution in December. So
I have a suggestion. Remember, I said to everyone that you were throwing out ideas. Can you please just send even if it's just one bullet to Lucian? You know, Tom, you were interested in the bonds. Betty, you were interested in. Sorry, I've lost the train of thought there. Betty,
I think she agreed with most of what was said. The tax deferment, about the co-ops, the condos.
Oh yeah, Justine, you were talking about class 2, but is Betty still on the call?
Oh yeah, she's there. I see her name now.
Yes, no, I'm for shared sacrifice.
Shared sacrifice, exactly. That makes sense. We all have to
if you could send a bullet point solution so he can make this menu. Someone else, I'm not remembering who it was. Let me just look. Can anybody remember what else you were adding to it?
I'm looking at the notes. I'm looking, Bob talked about, are they balanced? And it seems they might be.
Well, Bob,
I wanted to make sure that the whole approach was equitable.
Yeah.
And actually serve the entire economy, not just segments of it.
So can you bullet point and just send that solution?
I think that
Mimi,
Bob
did you
or
have
somebody, somebody said something about the landlord. Tom will talk with the landlords, I think, right? Especially the small landlords. Somebody, Tom or Bob.
I started out with the small landlords, but I'm also concerned even about the bigger landlords because the whole thing has to be balanced. And I think that it's fair if everyone, kind of like Betty, believes everyone has to share the pain of this. It's more like that.
Okay. Well, if everyone would send.
Well, in that regard, it's kind of already unbalanced because a lot of these larger corporations got the PPP loans that the smaller people didn't get. But we can have that conversation another time.
I mean, from my point of view, that isn't equitable either. That's part of what I mean
So
by
I'm saying it's already imbalanced. So maybe.
I mean, the thing is, there's lots of imbalance all over the place, and so, and for example, the person that was concerned with whether or not people could cheat, lots of people cheat on these things, and so making sure that everything is behaving
On all sides, yeah.
really important.
Well,
Okay.
I didn't follow up on that because I thought it was not that useful at the moment. But in terms of trying to stop people from cheating, I think that if we look at the total public good of doing something that's good, and there's a few cheaters, I'm really not that concerned, and we could try to clean that up afterwards. That, you know, if people were grossly violating the public trust, then you can go after them later with, you know, civil or criminal penalties. But I don't think, you know, like in the 2008 savings and loan, you know, debacle, or not savings and loan, but the you know, the
housing
mortgage-backed security bust, and then housing, you know, slide, that, you know, we didn't give money to homeowners. We didn't give money. We basically bailed out the banks, but then went and foreclosed on everybody, and you didn't get a lot of foreclosure assistance. So I thought that was a real error.
All right, so come up with some bullet points, Tom.
Yeah. Okay. So I just, you know, I think that basically I will. I'll
I assume those bullet points, Lucian, will be used as our whereases.
Well, a little bit of both. I think I'll use the opportunity to kind of pick apart the where to use it as a whereas and where to use it as a therefore, and we just put them all together and then kind of sort it out, because that's part of the process of threading the needle and coming to a conclusion.
Okay. And Miriam, I'm volunteering. You and I will, Lucian, we're available to help with this. So, but it's the.
Could I wanted to make one point
Sure.
on my suggestion about the bonds, is just that I wasn't pegging them only to the real estate issue. I think that, you know, maybe there's a number of different bonds that are offered and issued, and, you know, or an overall bond that then can be earmarked in lots of different ways. I don't
We'll throw
know
it in
exactly
there
the
and then
structure.
let's hash it out in December.
Yeah.
So everybody in December for the first hour and a half, so if as possible, let's start on time. We will do our reso writing tutorial. And as Lucian said, we can use our bullet points as our starting point. Okay, does that sound, is that agreeable to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You can unmute yourselves and disagree.
No, I agree. I think that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. And then
I just wanted to throw out something that, you know, I've been thinking about this reso for some time. It's two parts. One is, how realistic is it that rent is going to be forgiven like that? You know, so and bonds I think are brilliant, but that's a long time coming. Is part of the solution to put the pressure on them to do that supplement right away to the unemployment insurance, which I think is what kept so many people from defaulting on their rent to begin with, and have that as a realistic immediate buffer.
throw it in as a bullet point. Let's see if we
Yeah,
can put that in
you
there.
could, because when the federal funds for the unemployment expired in the state of New York, Governor Cuomo had extended them for an additional period. So that is something, they've done it before, you know, that is something that the state can do without the feds.
Right, and I think that was the backstop for people, you know, who were out of work and couldn't pay their rent. That extra $600 a week paid the rent.
Right.
And
Right.
Agreed.
They paid some of
Agreed.
it. So you weren't as they paid some of your, and your landlord accepted partial payment. At least you weren't as deep in the hole.
Right. Well, that was an additional $2,400 a month on top of the base unemployment. So I think the people most in danger of not being able to pay their rent probably, I don't know for a fact, though, were covered by having an additional $2,400 a month. I'm just saying that is something that can be done immediately because it has been done immediately in the past.
It's been done before, absolutely. And there were a number of mechanisms to that I don't think everybody understood. Like, for example, there were some people who were in fact not unemployed. They were working from home, but the unemployment was paying a portion of their salary, whereas the company that they worked for was paying the balance. So when there were folks screaming about that unemployment, saying that we shouldn't have it, there were, I mean, you know, first of all, people work and pay taxes, so you'd like to deserve when that sort of thing happens to you to be covered. But there were people who were still actively working every day that were on those unemployment rolls or as part of that money.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it kind of deals with the immediate issue of fairness. The landlords are hurt by this. It comes out of the taxpayers' money. It's spread out over the entire country. So I think there's a lot of benefits to that.
Yeah.
All right. Did everyone? So everyone, that's what we're going to do. And I don't know what else is going to be on the agenda for the last, hour or so of our meeting, but we'll get back to you with the agenda.
Pat,
Right.
Actually, I'm kind of confused. What is the resolution about?
We're trying to see if we can write some sort of resolution in support of different aspects of the housing bills that both Senator Kavanaugh is proposing. We may not agree with everything, like, you all brought up different things that you might not agree with.
Well, they also said they expect it to change dramatically when it goes to the House next year. So I'm kind of listening to Jill. What she's saying is we don't know anything about those bills, so we really can't vote for or against them in any way with any kind of intelligence, because even the writers don't know what they're going to say.
Okay, so let's use
that's premature.
Well, I think
saying let's find a solution for money and maybe go after that, because that's something we can say.
So
I think
wait.
Ms. Justine, may I say something? Because I sort of see it as, I agree with you. I hear what you're saying, both you and Jill, Betty. But I also think that it would be a good idea to give some ideas and some input to the legislature. So when they're actually going to go argue about it, they at least have community board one saying, okay, we like this, we want you to do this, we want you to do that. And whatever happens. But at least we're weighing in on it.
That's what I thought.
But that also changes and has value. So rather than being in support of their bills.
Not generally.
What Justine is saying, this is what we would like to see in the state legislation.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not against the idea of having bills at all, and I'm not against the idea of us supporting the content we want to see in those bills.
Correct. Because I think we all have some changes in there.
Right. Those particular bills we don't particularly care about. It's because we know they're going to change anyway. It's more talking about what CB1 believes would be good to be in a bill.
Right.
And some of it may be in their bills already, and some of it might not.
Exactly.
You all have given us suggestions of things that you would like to see or not see, So, and it's also our way of doing this exercise of learning how to write a reso. So that Lucian doesn't have to write them all the time, and we can all contribute to writing the resos. All right?
I just wanted to say that the idea is to support the spirit of the legislation.
That too, yes, Bob.
Correct, but don't be bound down by those numbers.
Exactly. All right, so if anyone has any suggestions for the other hour, or, we don't know yet.
Let's put Hannah back on again.
Yeah, let's put Hannah back on to see what's going on. Yes. And this could take the whole darn time, because look at us talking still.
Well, I think it's good for us to have and discuss, this issue in particular. And other
I agree.
Out of it, and we don't have guests that we're holding up. Just have time committee to talk. And any of our guests, like Rosa, please come. Anyone else who would like to come back. All right, Rosie is still there?
Thank you. I'm learning a lot.
Oh, good. Well, come and visit us. All right.
We will try.
If anyone has anything else to bring up? Nope. Tammy, are you still there?
I am. Thanks for having me tonight.
What, Tammy?
I am here. Thank you for having me sit in on the meeting.
Would you like to include or give us any update on anything? Is there anything you want to share with us?
Oh, so much. It's been such a long day.
Well, that you can do Tuesday at your chairperson's update.
Yeah, I will give you a quick quality of life update from other CBs if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So it was interesting on Borough Board to know that there are many community boards who are struggling with the same quality of life issues that we have. Clearly, as we all know, the housing goes cross everywhere. The rise of homelessness goes everywhere. The lack of NYPD enforcement is seen everywhere. Things to note is that the quality of life concerns that have come out of open streets tend to go very prominently around outdoor dining. Lots of people concerned about basically restaurants building sheds now, which don't seem to be socially compliant, social distancing compliant, which is really interesting.
And also remember keeping
they're kind of
COVID
enclosed.
in. Right.
They're basically indoors.
It's like they've made outside, inside.
Yeah.
Exactly. They're basically making temporary, temporary locations. It's just, yeah. CB6 has the same problems that we do when it comes to temporary shelters, the city bike expansion. Bizarrely, if you take a sit back after sitting in that entire meeting, it turns out that many of the CBs along the east side are experiencing sinkholes. I didn't talk about ours, but two of the others on the east side spoke about sinkholes being specific. I mean, we happen to have them as well. It's just
What
sort of
sinkholes do we have?
interesting. Over by the South Street Seaport, there are sinkholes.
Really?
When
did that start?
Over by. It always comes. It comes and goes. And so there are some significant ones over by 61st Street, over by the FDR, and other places where it seems like you question whether there's been water intrusion, which is interesting. Let's see. People having problems with open streets and DOT in terms of expansions and other issues have come through. Sanitation goes part and parcel with open streets. There were like 4 community boards who had all the same. There were a couple community boards who felt that there's been a rise in crime and a general feeling of unsafety by their constituency, not necessarily data driven, but trying to understand how that's happening. Obviously, I don't know if people know there's NYCHA housing where gas has been turned off and it's bitter cold. So people can't cook going into Thanksgiving. They've got no gas to heat.
Ridiculous.
So that's a problem. Lots of boards all saying the same thing about how frustrating it is that they didn't bring parents to the table and include all the stakeholders with schools because people don't have places for their kids and people don't know what they're doing with working. And all banks have left Roosevelt Island. All. There are 2. Yep. They lost their last bank. There are only 2 ATMs out there, so they're trying to, and Cornell doesn't even have a credit union, so they're trying to figure out what to do over there. Let's see.
Is it because rents are too high or nobody uses them or what's the reason?
It's a great question. Great question. Lots of people saying that they'd like COVID-19 measures to be more up to date on the city's website and for the city to be really targeting zip codes for help and not making a one size does not fit all solution, as you can imagine. Let's see what else. Quality of life is kind of where it is everywhere. Gail pointed out where this is why she thinks we need a public realm czar.
What would they do?
They would work on there'd be a centralized location that could report all kinds of like noise and things that NYPD isn't necessarily going to follow up on, and 311 it gets lost in.
So is it something that we should do a reso on, and who would represent it to? The mayor, I assume?
That's a great question. I can ask Gail and find that out. Gail talked about the funding for schools, and Ben Kalos' team talked about that, about getting, the complexities of trying to get computers to kids. I mean, it just shouldn't be this hard, and internet access out for everybody. The helicopter noise is not only, it continues. Child care cuts apparently were unevenly done. So the child care cuts that have come through the budget affect Manhattan more than other areas. She specifically said Manhattan got screwed. That the DOE and ACS did not understand micro zones of poverty because they look and see one gentrified island and didn't actually look and say, oh, well, this community board may have a high, but they also have NYCHA housing. They have, and they just sliced Manhattan off. Schools do not want to be early voting sites.
Why?
So, safety, security.
And
But they always have been. I mean,
So-
schools have always been voting sites. What's the difference between being a voting site or an early voting site?
Because of the number of days that it was open to outside people.
Oh, you mean during COVID, they don't want to be voting sites?
They don't want it during COVID, and they don't want it going forward for safety and security with early voting, because it's very difficult to secure the schools. So it's an interesting idea that we could certainly take a look at, places that could be polling sites. This could be a really good boon for other places that are underutilized.
Yeah, I mean, kind of agree. But on the other hand, I mean, St. Margaret's was a polling site. The Siemens Institute was a polling site. My school, high schools around the corner are polling sites. I mean, why are they harder to secure than St. Margaret's?
It depends on if St. Margaret's has a nursery school there, now doesn't it? And whether or not kids are walking outdoors, if you have a special needs school in the building. There are lots of different things. But so that was a conversation to look at. Interestingly, the topic of implicit bias training that we have came up, and Justine will be so happy to hear this. They are working on a bias training sessions for Saturdays and Sundays for weekends.
Woo-hoo! Thank you.
They will not
Maybe
be
I
able
can
to
make
get that.
them.
Yeah, they won't be able to do that until Q1, but they heard loud and clear all the conversations we've had, and God knows how many times we've emailed them. They're working still to get people up to date with other functional trainings that they need to get through for the year, and then they're going to restart those in the beginning of the year, which is great.
It's going to be packed.
Yeah, I want.
That is going to be
virtual.
packed.
It's virtual.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh, yeah.
I want to ask you, one of the things that Justine brought up was that they hadn't recorded that training. And I said, well, it was because of privacy with the committee members, who attended. Could you find out?
I think it may
why
have been
they
the privacy of the hosts, but yeah, it is a good question.
Well,
didn't record it?
interestingly, they learned a lot of really good lessons from that training and found that they need to revamp it so it can be functional in what it was, because as Rosie said, they could have gone on for another 2 hours. There was so much more that, the need was so great in a variety of ways. So they're going to work, they're tweaking it and then redoing it. So I'd rather have them. Yeah, I will. I'd rather have it come back and be great than have them rush it.
No,
And
that's
of course
fine.
have it recorded. Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. Even when it's great, we want to record it so we can see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then interesting, Alita Camp from CB8 is doing a gentrification survey, and I volunteered CB1 to be involved, which is something that I'll talk to you guys about, as well as jumping on board with that, because I do think that part and parcel to many of the issues that we have, including quality of life on the top, is based on the large drive for gentrification without the pursuit of services or the pursuit of understanding that, well, if you can't have people live where they work, then they got to get there somehow. So don't talk to me about overcrowding trains and overcrowding cars and overcrowding buses, because you haven't made a path for people to be able to live. we are so unbalanced in CB1 in terms of live work. It's
You mean most people live and work here?
most people do not.
Yeah, most people do not. Yeah.
Most people do not. They cannot afford. If you are a teacher in any one of the universities who are down here, the local small private schools, the public schools, it's hard to live down in Community Board 1. There's not enough diversity with the AMI of housing stock down here. So I think Downtown Alliance's numbers were that we had, you have to hear I have to look back and see what their report is. I don't want to misquote it, but they had a really interesting number about how many people work in Lower Manhattan versus live in their catchment. Mm-hmm. And it was something, I want to say it was something like 3 or 4 to 1 work versus live.
Mm-hmm. I remember from a few years ago, they had said it was 300,000 come in daily to work, of course, pre-COVID, and the population of residential downtown in FIDI specifically, was 60,000. So 300,000 versus 60,000.
60,000.
And you got to understand that does not include any of the government buildings. It doesn't include anybody north of Chambers. Mm-hmm. And so, their catchment is not that big. Exactly. So when you add all the government buildings and the other office buildings that go further up from Chambers up to Canal, it gives you a much wider diversity of what we're talking about. And I think that, so as soon as I hear back from Alita and CB8, I'll put a shout out to see who can volunteer and do that, because I do think that it is something that we should be looking at as well down here.
That's fascinating though, Tammy, because part of the deal is that a lot of these people who work here, then they're not part of the community board and they don't get involved, but they maybe should be invited at least to talk about stuff. If they're not going to be board members, but if they should be, for quality of life or some other issues.
They are invited to join, right, by the borough president's office.
They are.
Absolutely.
But also there are people who just, maybe they are involved in their own neighborhoods or whatever, but there might be issues, reaching out to them.
We have people who are on the board who do not live here, both public and full board members. Yep.
Yes, that's really cool. But I do know that, but yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I think it adds a lot. When I was very impressed with when the people from Pace University were speaking about the impact on their school and their students in their dorms, and that's it was with regard to the shelter. But it was great to hear what they had to say and how it impacts them, and I think they're an important part of the community. So yeah.
So that's kind of my update quickly for quality of life related to Borough Board. Thank you for the time. That was very sweet of you.
We're going to want to come back to you with some of these and have a further discussion about them.
Yes. Hi. Welcome to me dropping in on your...
Like that public realms are number one. And I think the other one was, you'll ask about recording of the bias training. And
send me an email because I do much better by email, looking through my emails in the middle of the night when I wake up going, oh, I didn't respond to that one.
Well, this will be, I mean, you can't do anything about it right away. Does anybody else have anything else they wanted to ask Tammy about?
No, actually, I did. This is Riza. I was wondering, because I feel like we sort of danced around this before, but why can't we encourage people who work in the community, like police officers or like teachers or whoever, that are integral parts of our community and allowing it to function, nurses, but that might otherwise be economically sort of, challenged to live here, to be included in some sort of a housing support system. I don't even know how it would be defined, but
Rosa, we have teachers on our board who live here.
Yeah.
So we do have that. Police officers are not allowed to live in the districts in which they work. That is a city regulation. So.
And data belongs.
And Detta belongs, yep.
And she's
And
Department
Betty's
of
a-
Finance.
Data.
Yep. So we do have people, Rosa, who both are part of city government who are on our board, and we have teachers who are on our board who live in our district and work in our district. But you can't have a police officer live and work.
Well,
and God knows, no offense, if I was a police officer, by the end of the day, I'd be
Yeah,
like, I don't want to
wouldn't
talk to anybody.
that I have to work with.
Rosa, this is Lucian. There's also a set aside for when there's new housing that is part of the mandatory inclusionary housing or the voluntary inclusionary housing, whatever units of income restricted housing that are generated from those programs. There's always some set aside for municipal employees to live there. The problem is that there's very little opportunity for the generation of those types of housing units in CB1, as those are usually created as part of a larger rezoning. There just aren't a lot of developable lots. So that's one of the reasons why this committee is looking at ways to kind of create an affordable housing pipeline, because there's very few new units coming online. The next potential cachet that we know that is almost a sure thing is probably 5 World Trade Center, which is, I mean, at least before the pandemic, seemed to be on track for a very generous number of affordable units. However, that's the state.
Well,
of
we don't know. We
unknown.
don't know now.
We actually really want to advocate for that. I mean, it's so much what we don't want to. So much of what we want, it would make such a major dent. I mean, Pat, you and I both opined on it.
Yeah, and I'm not totally in agreement with it, but that's, we'll discuss that when time comes, because we don't have infrastructure to support number 5 as housing in my little area of the world.
Well, if they open the street grid and put a market at the bottom, we'd be in great shape.
Yeah, open the street grid. Exactly. Let us be able to travel back and forth over in Greenwich South, But
exactly.
I just want to add that this was something Tom, had thought of and fought for, to have one of the new buildings be affordable housing from way, way back. And so I think it's something we should be behind and be.
Well, Jill, we count on you to, I told you, to kind of bring topics and we'll pursue them. And, as the housing person, we certainly do want to get behind trying to help get some sort of affordable housing. Many of us have said our kids can live and grow up in this community, but they can't afford to live in this community after they leave our homes.
So no.
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering what incentive there is for private development to include affordable housing that's strong enough for them to actually move on it instead of avoid it.
Well, they do get tax, abatements. They get bigger FAR. They get some things, I think
rents are dropping right now. There's like 30,000 empty apartments in New York City. There are people giving rent. Landlords giving several months for free. Because a lot of the apartments were rented and/or owned by like foreign dignitaries and stuff. There are people that are gone. They're not coming back here. They don't want the apartment.
Yeah, but Mariama, I think that, like in my building, a lot of people moved out. They're only giving free rents for like a month or two, and then they shoot right back up to the market value that they were.
But also those people who are doing that and doing that free rent, they're playing games with the rental income. It's a problem that they're doing that. That's something else we should be raising as an issue, because that's what it becomes preferential rent then, and it goes into some sort of nonsensical financing.
Wow. Well, we're going to
add one quick thing, and going back to the affordable housing in 5 World Trade Center, and it's kind of a touchy issue. But private equity is insanely going overboard happy investing in affordable housing. Now, I have a lot of issues with private equity owning affordable housing. However, it's an extremely deep pool of money. They love affordable housing because it's usually guaranteed by the government.
But then they can opt out of it.
No. They build it, they collect the rents. It's a good investment for them. So they can be a public-private. It's an opportunity in terms of development that I think is out there. People hate private equity as part of the issue, but it's a huge pool of money, and I kind of think it's an interesting way to explore building something that's not just MIH.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Well,
it's
I
out,
think
it's
we
out
need
of the
to
box. Yeah.
Maybe we should slate January right now as an affordable housing meeting. Because
That would
I was
be
thinking
great.
the other day that years ago when Michael, I'm having a blank. Michael
Levine.
Levine, thank you. I was going to say Lerner. Levine was on staff. He gave us a affordable, and also, you know, who it's Cole gave us a housing tutorial, and so we learned about was it 421A, B, C. We learned about FAR. We learned about all kinds of terms. And I think that we have many new members on the committee now. It might be time to revisit that as a topic for one of our meetings, maybe January.
And Pat, if I would ask, is that one meeting focused on the rental situation and one meeting focused on the real property situation?
Well, let's talk about how we can structure January's meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, Tammy, anything else you wanted to add for us?
No, we're good. You guys, it was a great
Thank
meeting
you.
to listen in. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. We enjoy having you. Thank you for bringing us more food for thought. So everybody, Tuesday.
Okay, good night.
We're all gonna send in our bullet points for us to do our tutorial on writing. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Such a great night.
Take care. I'll see you Tuesday. So forget.
Bye-bye.
Rosa,
Love you.
again, Rosa, thanks for coming.
Oh, thank you so much for having